If you have autism, the world is a more threatening place.
I think I'm willing to fight.
They feel fear on a daily basis.
Oh, honey.
It's as if young children with autism don't know that signals pass between people.
I hate these mix and matches.
Autism is a collection of developmental disorders that we're not smart enough to understand.
We don't know what causes autism. We don't know how to treat it effectively. We're all feeling a little daunted.
I think autism is the hardest condition for a family to cope with.
It's heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking.
And if you look at 100 children with autism, there may be 100 or more causes in that group of 100 children.
Un aislamiento extremo desde el inicio de la vida. Vivir en un mundo en el cual eres un completo extraño, amenazado por los sonidos, la luz y el tacto, atrapado en rituales, repeticiones, monotonía, encerrado en uno mismo, sin querer salir. Lo denominamos autismo.
They never knew how to talk until I was 5.
¿Qué lo provoca? Nadie lo sabe. ¿Cómo se puede curar? Nadie lo sabe. Lo que sí sabemos es que 1 de cada 150 niños que nace lo padece. Uno de cada 150 niños. Es un aumento tan drástico en relación a 20 años atrás que algunos lo consideran una epidemia. La pregunta ¿es esto cierto o es que mejoramos haciendo cuentas?
Hey, Fred, your turn. Fred, get ready, feet.
Actualmente la definición médica de autismo es más amplia que nunca, cubriendo una amplia variedad de trastornos categorizados de graves a leves. Al haber más niños diagnosticados, más son las preguntas que surgen. ¿Es el autismo hereditario? ¿Lo causa alguna toxina en el medio ambiente o en el útero de la madre? ¿Puede ser disparado por alguna vacuna infantil o desorden inmunológico? Investigaciones recientes ofrecen pequeñas esperanzas de entendimiento. Aunque el máximo sueño de prevención y cura no está a la vista, el diagnóstico de autismo suele significar una vida de lucha.
My first concerns with Fenton started when he was about 20 months old, and I was noticing that he did have some very serious speech delay. We have some late talkers in the family, so that wasn't a real red flag for me. However, he started to seem like he wasn't really noticing us coming and going. He didn't really seem to have a startle reflex. He could be watching television, and one of the things I did was drop a xylophone right behind his back, wouldn't even flinch. He would never reach to be pulled out of the crib. He just really seemed to be kind of checked out. There were other things that really concerned me. He'd get up in the middle of the night and just start laughing, and I knew that was something that autistic children could do, and you know, it would wake me up and my blood would run cold because I mean, this was before we actually got a diagnosis, and I just knew where we were headed, and it's absolutely terrifying. It is, it's absolutely terrifying. He does not follow instruction. Go pick up the red ball. Put your jacket on. He has no understanding of what I'm saying to him. He cannot follow direction.
Avocado?
Come here, honey. Fenton doesn't seem to be able to, sometimes he'll get all the syllables in when he's repeating words back.
Avocado? Okay, good talking.
But it never sounds the same way twice. Good. Avocado? Avocado? He still doesn't answer to his name. If I'd be filling the car up with gas, usually you can knock on the window and get your baby to look at you, and they laugh and smile back.
Really big heads. They're at the 97th percentile. Not all parts of the brain are growing rapidly, but only some parts. And of those some parts, the one that's most consistent is the frontal lobe. So what does the frontal lobe do? Well, the frontal lobe that does things like make plans for the future, probably involved in social behavior, allowing us to know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. They think of other people sort of more like tools or objects. And the lack of that ability to think about what somebody else is thinking might be due to the fact that the frontal lobe is not working properly.
Do you see that my son has an enlarged brain?
Yeah, we're going to need to do the measurements, and then we're also going to be able to sample his blood to see whether...
It felt like being validated to me, to know that there are many issues going on with these children. It's not just a behavioral issue.
Mientras Jackie espera los resultados de la resonancia magnética, las pruebas continúan. A Fintan le colocan una gorra con sensores para que los investigadores puedan medir las ondas cerebrales, mientras él escucha sonidos de distintas intensidades.
Quite often, children with autism have sensory sensitivities. You might find them holding their ears when there are loud sounds or having large reactions to being touched. One of the things that we're interested in is seeing whether or not their brains differentiate sounds that are soft, medium, and loud.
Can you hear those sounds in the headphones?
If we find that someone cannot track changes in the intensity of sound, so that their brain response to a quiet sound and to a louder sound is pretty similar. Like if somebody enters a hallway and starts talking, you might hear the intensity of the sound not changing as that person comes towards you. There will undoubtedly be many instances of surprise and confusion because of the lack of accurate predictions of changes in the environment.
Oh, you're usually fine about being here, bud. Part of the difficulty for them is they don't know what's happening. Imagine if we rolled out of bed and anything could happen. Anybody could show up. Any activity could emerge. That would be a very confusing and disorganizing way to start a day. But that's what the life of a young child with autism is often like.
Bubbles. Bubbles.
Sally Rogers del Instituto Mind es una de las líderes mundiales en intervención temprana. Ha ayudado a develar lo que actualmente es la mayor esperanza para un niño con autismo. Hacer terapia de comportamiento intensiva y temprana, cuando el cerebro aún se está desarrollando y puede ser modificado. No es una cura, sino una manera de educar los síntomas. Los beneficios pueden prolongarse a lo largo de toda la vida, aunque la ventana para tomar esta oportunidad se abre mucho más en la edad temprana.
The window is open in a special way in infancy. In infancy, babies' brains are literally forming. The neurons are moving, they're establishing connections, they're connecting by extending out little processes to each other with a little gap that the currents can actually flow across. And that's how one neuron communicates with another and how the whole brain manages to talk to itself. After all these connections form, a baby has a lot more connections that they'll ever need. And so the brain actually starts to clear away some of the clutter. It's called a process called pruning. And so that pruning out process is going to result in a more efficient brain. We want to make sure that the things are in place at the time of pruning, our language, social communication, and play, so that we don't lose some of the wiring that would support
Tratar
those
el
during the
autismo
pruning
mientras
process.
todavía se puede modificar el cerebro es la mayor esperanza que existe en la actualidad. Mientras tanto, las investigaciones científicas continúan.
Peekaboo. Peekaboo. Where's Minty? YouTube.
Fenton has never played peekaboo. There are many things you would think might be hard, like having the blood draws, and that's not fun. And the MRI, you would think that might be the hardest. But the hardest part is really taking apart and looking closely at where your child is developing.